Hey guys, coming to you in my purple scrubs today. It's Dr. AI
And
with
I'm Lindsay.
Welcome to another episode of Regen Med and Ozempic,
And
Wegovy.
Manjaro.
Exactly. That's, I think, going to be a topic that we're going to talk about today since it's been one that we've had a lot of questions on. So we figured we'll talk a little bit about it and how, in some ways, it relates to some of the other stuff that we do here in regenerative medicine in general and just healthiness and wellness. I don't think healthiness is a word, is it?
Healthiness.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think, right?
I think it is.
Look it up. Anyways, yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Ozempic. I know it's a topic that many people have asked about, and so we can dive a little bit deeper into it.
Yeah, so I guess a lot of people are asking, is it good for you? Is it healthy?
Yeah. And Ozempic is basically a GLP-1 agonist. It's a medication that has been around for a while, but lately has been gaining more popularity. It's a weight loss, it's a diabetic medication, and people who were taking it for diabetes, many of them experienced weight loss, which is kind of how it got into that weight loss, this whole weight loss kind of situation. And then Wegovy is another version. I would say like it's another medication that uses the same ingredient, semaglutide, that is FDA approved for weight loss for certain, people population, people with over a certain BMI or people who have a BMI with another medical or associated condition, let's say. So it's an injectable medication. It's usually a weekly injection, and a lot of people are doing it for weight loss. And just like any other medications, I think there's definitely a place for it in the market for the right people. There is some pros and cons that you want to be aware of, and if you want to use it appropriately, if used appropriate, and that's I think some of the stuff that we'll talk about today. When is it appropriate? When is it not appropriate? What are some of the advantages, disadvantages, and things like that?
I have some friends that have been on it, and they've had phenomenal results, like 30 pounds, 40 pounds lost. And I guess because there's a stopping point, right? Can you continue to be on it, or is there a point where you have to stop doing it?
No, I mean, if you're doing it for weight loss, I guess a good stopping point would be, if you get to the weight where you want to be. But you can, especially because, again, if you're talking about Ozempic and Wegovy, it's very similar, but there is some slight differences. And people can be on, Ozempic, especially if they're doing it for the diabetic, reasons. They can be on it for a long, long time. But you're right. I also know a lot of people who've been on it and lost a lot of weight. Some people don't lose as much, and I think that's an important point. And it partly, I think, is a big part of it. I'm a big proponent of just having the right lifestyle, in terms of diet and exercise. And I think it's a point that should be very obvious, but sometimes we kind of miss it. But for the best results, you obviously want to combine it with a good diet and exercise regimen, because at the end of the day, if you are not watching your diet and exercise at all, there might still be some benefit to Ozempic, but you're not going to get the same, effects as if you're really, taking care of yourself in terms of really watching your diet and exercise and that kind of stuff. So I would always recommend for anybody who's thinking about starting it, or for any physicians or providers that are prescribing it, to kind of always combine it or, do it along with, providing some dietary counseling to the client, figuring out what the right diet is, and kind of making the lifestyle changes, the lifestyle modification that are going to support that weight loss.
Because after let's say you get to your goal weight and then you get off, can you definitely bounce back and go back to your old habits, old ways, and then gain it all back and
for sure
for nothing?
For sure, yeah. And a lot of studies, people did gain some weight back after stopping it. So it definitely can happen, and that's we're changing, the diet and exercise and stuff can be very, very helpful. I like to personally think of a lot of these medications as kind of like support. They can be very helpful to kind of get you going, moving in the right direction. But unless you're planning on being on it your whole life, you obviously want to, do some lifestyle modifications so that if you're not happy with the weight you're in right now, again, these medications can be helpful. But how can we change certain things in terms of your, lifestyle modifications so that way you can get you back, kind of toward your goal? And definitely like adding something like Ozempic or Wegovy or Mounjaro, during that time can be helpful to get you there faster, to kind of help with some of, to help your body kind of get there faster. But sometimes lifestyle modification, and sometimes it's other things too, right? Like, so if, for instance, if your hormones are off, right, and that kind of is like partly how it can relate to like maybe in some ways regenerative medicine and anti-aging medicine, or your thyroid's off, and that's part of the reason you are kind of your metabolism is a little bit slower and you are overweight or obese because of these things, because your thyroid is off or because your hormones are really off. Sure, going on Mounjaro or on Ozempic or semaglutide can help you get a little bit quicker, with the right changes to your goal. But if that underlying problem is not uncovered and it's not fixed, it's going to be a lot harder to maintain, that goal weight once you're there.
And then I was also thinking, like, from a nutritional aspect of it, like, just because you're skinny doesn't mean you're healthy. Just because you don't have all that fat doesn't mean you're healthy internally. So you could still have like high cholesterol. You could still have a lot of fat in your heart, and you're not taking care of it yourself eating the right types of foods. It's just, I guess, the amount of food you're eating is less.
100%, which is why, again, I was saying, like, it's very important to kind of couple the medication with the right dietary information and stuff, because the last thing you want to do, I think, in one of the, in my opinion at least, is not eat all day because you don't have the appetite, because the medication is working and helping in that regard, and then finally when you grab something, you just grab some like potato chips or something that has like very low nutritional nutrients or nutritional value in it, so you're not eating it all, and then whenever you're eating, you are choosing something that's really deficient in that's very high in calories or relatively high in calories but deficient in actual nutrients that your body need. And then you are losing weight, but you are again, you're being deficient in many nutrients you need, which can cause to its own like health problem. But if you're doing it right and you're not like you're not obviously you're cutting down your calories on the medication, and when you are eating the right balance of the right type of food, and that would be a much better situation.
It's probably hard because people that are a bit more overweight tend to eat a bit worse, and their palate is different. But then when they do have that desire to eat, they're going to go to what's comfortable for them, which is probably not the best food.
It depends. Like, in many ways, it can be for anybody. Like, sometimes when you don't eat to eat, but it could be that, or it could be that they're overweight because they have some underlying, health condition. But again, it would still be the same concern, which is if there is an underlying health condition causing them to be overweight, then if it's something that can be addressed, then it should be addressed, right? So, and many times it's one or the other or a combination of the two, right? But again, let's say the thyroid is really like off, and that's part of the reason, that's causing their metabolism to be a little bit slower. Then one of these medications can help temporarily, but you still want to figure out like how can you really solve the problem at its root. And if the root of the problem is just the wrong diet, if the metabolism and everything is fine, but just the diet is really not a very good diet in terms of not being a healthy diet, and we can talk a lot more about diet. I love that topic. Then you do want to address and solve that too. And it doesn't mean that these are bad medications. Again, these medications can be great, but you just have to use them in the right context, I believe.
Yeah. And then, patients will call and say, like, oh, I'm interested in, the semaglutide. And then, I go through the list of questions and ask them, like, do you diet and exercise? Well, not really at all. No. And some people are like, I exercise and I have a clean diet and I just can't lose an inch of fat. And then, like you mentioned, it could also be that hormonal factor that should always be considered.
For sure.
But before they get administered a medication like that, right?
For sure. And it's, with these, it's very situation specific, right? It's hard to kind of give like a general, like a rule, like that's how it has to be. Because people are different, and even if there is a hormonal imbalance, there still could be a use for this medication. It just, again, along with fixing that imbalance. But it would definitely be, if you know there's a hormonal imbalance, fixing that hormonal imbalance would definitely be kind of the more appropriate step, or the first step, or the first thing to consider. So yeah, it's hard to really, again, every situation is a little bit different. Everybody's, we might approach each case in a slightly different way, but those are all things that should be considered, and it shouldn't be, one size fits all, where, hey, you're not happy with your weight, just take, this medication, there's nothing to worry about, or there's no concerns.
I feel like there's a lot of that.
It's
just so hot, and people are making money off of it, so there's just jumping on the bandwagon, jumping on the money train, trying to take advantage, and
yeah, it's a hot topic for sure, and that's, a lot of people are jumping on it, and I think it could be a good thing, it being a hot topic, so that a lot of people should consider it and kind of understand it, but then make an informed decision on whether it's right for them or not, as opposed to like just jumping on it without like knowing enough information about it.
And then there's also the side effects that are coming out of people not, being able to use the restroom regularly, and all sorts of different things that are happening.
Yeah, every medication has, I'm really honest, I do like that medication, I'm not like hating on it. Every medication does have side effects. Some people are going to experience very minimal side effects. Some people are going to be experiencing more moderate or even severe side effects in some cases. So that's why you want to do it, and that's why you want to make sure that you're the right candidate for it, right? You want to make sure you're addressing any other issues. You want to make sure that you don't have any issues, any health concerns or anything like that predisposes you to be more high risk for side effects. There are certain conditions or things that if exist in your family history, we wouldn't recommend that kind of medication. And finally, even if you are a good candidate, once you start it, you want to again be under the right type of care, so that if you are experiencing any side effects that are more than just very mild and transient, you can address that and maybe change the medication or stop the medication if needed, or you maybe change the dosing or something like that. Some people, they tolerate it very well, but yeah, for sure, in some abdominal side effects or I would say just GI side effects in general are common with many people, and they could be things just like some nausea and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Or they could be much more, severe. But yeah, gastrointestinal side effects are common, and there are other ones too.
Yeah,
so
I think it's amazing what it's done, for the people that I know that struggled with, and I don't think that they ate terribly bad. I think they ate like normal, healthy diets, but it definitely can kickstart and jump you into that, place where you're now motivated, and now you want to go to the gym because you feel confident and you feel better, and I get that too.
For sure. Yeah, a lot of times, maybe especially if you've been struggling for a while to kind of get your goal weight, and let's say you are 20 pounds overweight, 30 pounds overweight, maybe yes, the least side effect solution and stuff would be diet and exercise, but it might not be a bad idea at all to go on a medication like that to lose those 20 pounds a little bit, like to get that help to lose that 20 pounds. And then once you are, to many people, once you are at your goal weight, it's a little bit easier to switch that diet back then and kind of be a little bit more motivated once you kind of get a taste of that success, But again, everybody's different, so it has to be for the right person. If somebody's not interested in all in changing his, like diet and exercise, and it is in fact that diet, let's say, that's in that sedentary lifestyle that is causing them to be overweight in the first place, is going on one of these medications the right option for them? And again, it depends, but without these changes, and if they're going to be on it temporarily, it's probably only going to be a temporary solution, right? So
yeah,
all things that are, I think, worth considering when you approach it.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I think
that wraps up, I guess we're
sure.
short on time, but I think that was really informative, and there's a lot of things about that whole semaglutide thing that a lot of people aren't familiar with the repercussions of it and then the benefits of it. And it's just one of those things, like, it's so popular, like everybody wants to do it, but not everybody knows everything about it.
No, yeah, not everybody understands it. Yeah, again, it could be good option for you. It might not. If you are listening to that and you're interested, just make sure that you talk to somebody who understands it and who can really assess your specific situation and kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.